Some changes in the body come quietly. They don't cause sharp pain, they don't force you to lie down and rest, but they leave behind small signals, right there on your hands. Maybe you've noticed a slight tremble in your hand when holding a glass of water. Or one morning, your fingers felt stiffer than usual, and you had to rotate your wrist a few times before you could open a bottle. Perhaps your nails have become more brittle, breaking more easily, or your palms have suddenly turned dry and rough, even though you still use the same hand cream. After the age of 70, your hands are no longer just tools to help you move through daily life. They become a quiet mirror reflecting deeper changes inside your body, from hormones and the nervous system to the functions of your liver, kidneys, and circulatory system. Today's video will walk you through 6 of the most common hand-related signs, seemingly simple changes that may actually be early messages about your health. Not to worry you, but to help you be more proactive. Not to scare you, but to help you see more clearly, understand your body better, and know when it's time to truly listen. If you've ever rested your hands on the table and quietly thought, "Why do I feel weaker these days?" Maybe your hands have been trying to say something you haven't yet heard. Stay with me until the end of the video because I'll share a simple way to check your hands at home, an easy tool to help you track your health week by week, especially helpful for those who live alone or don't visit the doctor often. If you're enjoying this content, comment 1 below to let me know you're here. If not, comment 0, and I'll work harder to bring you even better content. Now, let's start it. 1. Hands shake slightly when holding still or when holding small objects. You pick up a glass of water, a teaspoon, or a pen, and notice your hand trembles just a little. Not much, not enough to disrupt what you're doing, but just enough that you need to hold things a bit more firmly. At first, you think it's just from being tired. But then it happens again, when reaching for food, brushing your teeth, or trying to keep your hands steady. It's not alarming, but it's enough to make you wonder, is something going on with my hands? The truth is, a slight hand tremor is one of the most common signs of subtle changes in the nervous system as we age. After 70, this can appear even without being a sign of serious illness. One frequent cause is something called essential tremor, a benign condition that's not dangerous, but can be inconvenient in daily life. Essential tremor can run in families and is often more noticeable when you're trying to hold your hands still or perform precise movements. It's different from Parkinson's disease, which is usually accompanied by other symptoms like muscle stiffness, slow movement, or balance issues. Besides essential tremor, mild hand shaking can also result from very everyday things: lack of sleep, chronic anxiety, vitamin B deficiency, or side effects from common medications, especially those for blood pressure, asthma, or depression. Even drinking coffee or strong tea on an empty stomach can cause a mild hand tremor for a few hours. The important thing is to distinguish between a temporary tremor and one that may require medical attention. If the shaking happens only during times of stress, fatigue, or just after waking up and goes away, it's likely nothing serious. But if the tremor becomes persistent, happens even at rest, or is accompanied by trouble writing, buttoning clothes, or loss of finger strength, then it's time to see a neurologist for a proper evaluation. You can try a simple check at home. Write a few lines, then hold your hand out in front of you for 10 seconds and observe. If the tremor is light, even, and not accompanied by weakness or clumsiness, you may just need to monitor it. But if it gets worse, spreads to the other hand, or starts interfering with daily tasks, don't hesitate to speak with a professional. Remember, hand tremors after age 70 are not unusual and not always a sign of danger. What matters most is understanding what's happening, keeping an eye on changes, and knowing when to seek help. Your hands may tremble slightly, but the calm and intention with which you care for yourself, that's what truly keeps you steady. Number 2. Stiff, slightly painful finger joints in the morning. Some mornings you wake up and feel like your fingers have stiffened overnight. You try to bend and stretch them, but they're not as flexible as usual. Each time you make a fist, you have to rotate your joints a few times before you can fully open your hand again. It's as if the small joints in your fingers are still asleep. The stiffness isn't sharply painful, but it makes simple tasks, gripping a cup, washing your face, buttoning a shirt, feel slower, heavier. And you start to wonder, are my hands really starting to age? I remember a woman named Helen, 74 years old, who once told me she needed a few minutes every morning just to wake up her fingers. When pouring tea, she used both hands because her fingers weren't as responsive. She assumed it was just one of those little signs of getting older until the stiffness started lasting longer each month and was soon followed by mild pain in her finger joints. It turned out to be the early stages of hand osteoarthritis, and fortunately, she caught it early enough to change her habits and maintain good hand function, even now. Helen's story isn't uncommon. Morning stiffness in the fingers is a very familiar experience for many people over 60, especially those who've done a lot of manual work or led a mostly sedentary lifestyle. In some cases, it's an early warning of osteoarthritis, when the cartilage between the joints wears down over time. It may also be related to rheumatoid arthritis, particularly if the stiffness lasts more than 30 minutes in the morning and comes with swelling or redness in the joints. But for many, light stiffness stems from joint fluid settling overnight and not being woken up properly. You don't need to panic, but you also shouldn't ignore it. Small changes, like soaking your hands in warm water for 5 to 10 minutes each morning, gently massaging your fingers with warm oil, or slowly opening and closing your hands for a few minutes, can help restore flexibility. During the day, avoid keeping your hands still for long periods. Every hour or so, take a moment to stretch, rotate your wrists, or simply move your fingers. It's enough to keep your joints supple. If the stiffness becomes more intense, lasts for weeks, or is accompanied by pain and swelling, it's wise to see a specialist in musculoskeletal health for early evaluation. But if it's just mild stiffness, consider it a gentle reminder that your hands, like every other part of your body, deserve to be warmed up, cared for, and loved a little each day. We can't stop time from passing, but we can help our hands, no matter how old, stay flexible, graceful, and connected to every moment of life. Sign 3. Brittle, easily broken, or discolored nails. Have you noticed your fingernails looking different lately? Not as smooth or shiny as they used to be, maybe dry, brittle, or breaking easily, even without any impact. Some nails may start to curve slightly, look pale, or develop faint vertical ridges, and perhaps you've simply brushed it off as just another part of aging. But in reality, your nails can quietly and consistently reveal what's happening inside your body, long before other symptoms show up. I once spoke with a friend named Margaret, 71 years old, who had always taken great care of herself, but recently she noticed her nails were so brittle that they chipped even while folding laundry. She thought maybe it was the dry winter air or washing her hands too often. But after a routine checkup, her doctor found that her iron levels were low, a mild form of anemia she hadn't noticed in any other way. It turned out her nails had spoken up before anything else did. Nails are an extension of the skin and are especially sensitive to nutritional deficiencies, particularly low levels of iron, protein, zinc, calcium, or B vitamins. When the body lacks the building blocks it needs to nourish tissues, your nails are often the first place to show signs. They may become thin, dry, prone to peeling, develop fine ridges, or turn pale instead of their usual healthy pink. In some cases, nail changes may even be linked to an underactive thyroid, or more rarely, early signs of liver or heart conditions, especially when the nails begin to curve abnormally, appear spoon-shaped, or develop unusual vertical discolorations. That said, you don't need to panic just because your nails have become a little more fragile. The first step is to observe closely. Are all your nails affected, or just a few? Has there been a change in color or shape? And most importantly, have you been eating less than usual, losing weight without trying, or feeling unexplained fatigue? If you notice 2 or more of these signs, it's a good idea to get a simple blood test to check for any nutritional deficiencies. If the issue is mild, you can help your nails by eating more iron-rich foods like dark leafy greens, salmon, and eggs, drinking enough water, and applying natural nail oils like olive oil or coconut oil a few times a week. Don't forget that stress, poor sleep, and frequent exposure to household chemicals like dish soap or bleach can also take a toll on nail health. Sometimes your body won't shout for attention. It whispers through tiny cracks in your fingernails. And if you take the time to listen, you might prevent something much bigger down the line. Sign number 4. Dry, cracked, peeling skin on hands persists despite moisturizing. We often think of dry hands as something normal, especially when the weather turns colder or after washing with soap too often. But if you've already switched to gentle hand creams, avoided harsh soaps, and kept your hands out of water as much as possible, and your skin still feels tight, flaky, or even cracks and bleeds, your body might be asking for deeper attention. I once met a gentleman named Joseph, 76, living in California, where the climate isn't particularly dry. He told me that despite trying various creams, avoiding strong soaps, and drinking water regularly, the skin on the back of his hands kept peeling in patches and occasionally cracked to the point of bleeding. He brushed it off as just a part of aging. But during a routine checkup, his doctor found elevated blood sugar levels and signs of mild chronic dehydration, two factors that directly affect peripheral skin, especially on the hands and feet. The truth is, the skin on your hands is especially sensitive to hormonal changes, circulation, and your body's hydration levels. As we age, the skin naturally thins, and the oil glands become less active, making dryness more persistent. In many cases, diabetes is a silent cause behind chronically dry, itchy, peeling skin, especially on the hands, even when you're doing everything right on the outside. Low thyroid function, hypothyroidism, is another common cause, particularly among postmenopausal women, leading to dry, rough skin that resists typical moisturizers. That said, not all dry skin signals illness. What matters is how dry it is, how long it lasts, and whether it comes with other symptoms. If your hands stay persistently dry despite all efforts, and you also experience discoloration, itching, cracking, or symptoms like fatigue and constantly cold hands and feet, it's time to consult with an endocrinologist or dermatologist for a more thorough evaluation. If the dryness is mild, there are simple yet effective ways to improve it. Incorporate natural oils like olive or flaxseed oil into your meals. Stay hydrated based on your body's needs, and apply moisturizer right after washing your hands, while your skin is still slightly damp, to help lock in moisture. Choose creams that are fragrance-free and alcohol-free, as these ingredients can weaken the skin barrier over time. Your hands aren't just about appearance. They are the first protective barrier between your body and the outside world. When that barrier begins to crack, it's a sign that your inner health may need support too. So treat every moment of applying hand cream not just as routine, but as an act of listening to yourself. Because soft, healthy hands at any age are a gentle reminder, I'm still taking good care of myself. Sign 5. Numbness or tingling at night. You're asleep in the middle of the night when you suddenly wake up to find your hand numb, your fingers tingling like tiny pins pricking the skin, or a strange crawling sensation across your palm. You shift your position, gently rub your hand, and after a few minutes, the feeling fades. At first, you assume it's from sleeping in the wrong position, but then it starts happening more often, multiple times a night, especially in your thumb, index, and middle fingers. You begin to notice that sometimes while holding something for too long, your grip weakens or your hand briefly loses sensation. This isn't just poor sleep. It could be your body signaling that something is affecting your peripheral nerves, especially around the wrist, where compression or mild injury can quietly build over time. I once met a woman named Ruth, age 73, who loved knitting and playing piano. She told me that for months, she would wake up at night with a tight, tingling sensation in her right hand, almost as if it were being squeezed. She blamed it on the weather or sleeping position. But after visiting a neurologist, she was diagnosed with mild carpal tunnel syndrome, where the median nerve running through the wrist becomes compressed after years of repetitive motion. Early detection and small adjustments to how she used her hands helped relieve the symptoms without needing medication or surgery. Nighttime hand tingling is a common symptom of peripheral nerve issues in older adults, and it's not limited to carpal tunnel syndrome. It can also be related to diabetes, deficiencies in vitamins B1, B6, or B12, or poor peripheral circulation. In some cases, mild degeneration in the cervical spine can compress nerve roots, leading to hand numbness when sleeping on your side. Here's how to tell if it's temporary or something to follow up on. If the tingling is occasional, inconsistent, and doesn't interfere with daily activities, you can observe it for a few weeks. But if it happens frequently, grows in intensity, shows up during the day, or is paired with weakness or clumsiness when holding things, it's time to see a doctor, particularly a neurologist or musculoskeletal specialist. You can also support yourself with a few simple changes. Wearing a wrist brace at night to keep your hand in a neutral position and reduce pressure on the median nerve. Avoiding prolonged wrist flexion, like tucking your hand under your pillow or bending your wrist while holding a phone, gardening, or sewing. And make sure you're getting enough B vitamins, either through food like eggs, fish, nuts, and dark leafy greens, or supplements if advised by your doctor. Your hands deserve restful sleep just like the rest of your body. If they're waking you up in the middle of the night, don't settle for temporary comfort. Listen closely and act early so you don't have to live with a lingering numbness that could be prevented. Sign 6. Red palms or visible veins. Sometimes you glance down at your hands and notice that the skin in your palms, especially below the thumb or along the edges, appears redder than usual. It doesn't itch, it doesn't hurt, but it feels a little warm and noticeably more flushed than the rest of your skin. You might assume it's from frequent hand washing, a reaction to soap, or simply thinner skin as you age. But if that redness doesn't go away, lingers for weeks, and you start to see veins in your hands becoming more prominent, this could be more than just a skin issue. Persistent redness in the palms, known as palmar erythema, can be an early sign of liver dysfunction. This includes conditions like fatty liver, hepatitis, or even the early stages of cirrhosis. When the liver isn't working efficiently, hormones and toxins that would normally be processed begin to accumulate. One of the subtle effects is increased blood flow to small vessels in the skin, especially in areas like the palms, causing that persistent redness or warm sensation you might see and feel. I once met a gentleman named Samuel, 78 years old, who told me that the palms of his hands had a faint reddish hue that seemed to deepen by the afternoon, even though he hadn't touched anything unusual. He didn't drink alcohol, ate healthily, and felt generally well. But during a routine checkup, his doctor discovered that his liver function was slightly impaired, likely due to long-term use of medication for high blood pressure. Fortunately, because the issue was caught early, his doctor was able to adjust his treatment and his liver function improved without lasting damage. Visible veins in the hands, especially if they appear more pronounced alongside fatigue, unexplained weight loss, or changes in skin tone or nail color, can also be an early clue pointing to circulatory or hormonal imbalances. It's not always common, but when it does appear, it's worth paying attention to. The body often sends gentle warnings before more serious symptoms arise. So when should you check in with your doctor? If the redness in your palms persists for more than 2 weeks, appears even when you're at rest, can't be explained by irritation or contact with new substances, and is accompanied by other symptoms like mild yellowing of the skin, bloating, loss of appetite, or ongoing fatigue, it's time to seek medical advice. A simple liver function test can provide valuable insight. If everything comes back normal, you can rest easier and simply continue to monitor things. But if something is off, early detection offers the best chance to make changes before the issue progresses. Your hands may not speak, but they reveal small truths if you know how to look. The palms, often seen only as a point of contact, are in fact a quiet reflection of your liver, your circulation, and your hormonal balance. All it takes is a little attention at the right time. If this video helped you see your hands in a different light, tap like as a gentle reminder to yourself. If you believe someone you care about could benefit from this, please share the video with them. You might just be helping them notice something important, months or even years earlier. And if you'd like to continue exploring simple, calming, yet deeply meaningful videos like this one, don't forget to subscribe. Each week, we'll take small, practical steps toward understanding our bodies better in ways that are honest, easy to follow, and truly reliable. Because after 70, you don't need to be stronger than anyone else. You just need to understand yourself a little more each day, and that's more than enough to live healthier, happier, and lighter.